to dtalks, that is disruptive talks on education. And today's topic is challenges, gaps between policy and implementation of FLN and a practical approach towards better implementation. And we have with us a very special guest, the head of education, Aga Khan Foundation, Mr. Samir Jha. Hello, sir. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, hi, Anupma. Thank you for inviting me for this deep talk. It's been
Yes, pleasure
really
is all.
amazing.
So, a little bit something about our special guest. Mr. Samir Jha has been working in the education sector for the last 15 years in Bihar in close collaboration with the Education Department and Labor Department and ICD's Government of Bihar. And I work with Pratham Education Foundation and now is heading the Education ECD in Aga Khan Foundation. He has been involved in implementation of various programs at state level to improve learning outcomes in collaboration with the education department and has also worked with the labor department on prevention of child trafficking in Bihar. Wow. And he's also been a part of the process of developing child policy for the government of Bihar. He has also led the process of developing the ECCE curriculum with the ICD's Government of Bihar, and his innovation with the ICDs has won the SKOCH Silver Award 2020. He has been a part of the ECCE committee of the ICDS Bihar, and he's also been nominated as a member of the State Audit Advisory Board Bihar by the CAG government of Bihar. So, wow, sir, it's such a pleasure, such an honor to have you on the show. So please go ahead and please start the show.
Thank you, Anupma. Uh, so, as you mentioned, I have been working in Bihar in education sector and then also in early childhood care education for I think around 15 years. So now
Yeah.
let's come to the topic and this FLN and the implementation of FLN and challenges, gaps. Uh, I think uh, I think I should start with the aspect which has not been discussed, which is there in FLN, and people have been talking about education standard one, two, three, grade one, two, three, the reading skills, mathematics skills. So this is all foundational skills we always talk about. But nobody talks about before that. We have a three, four, five age group children, which are also there in foundational stage, which is very important for the foundational literacy numeracy program. If you look at the NEP, it talks about foundational stage starts from phase three, when the children start going to preschool or ICDS center or Anganwadi centers or private. So it's nothing new. It's always there. It's been there. When you look at private schools structure, it has nursery, kindergartens, and then one grade one, two, three. So like private schools, government schools should also have that structure. We call it foundational stage, but unfortunately, we didn't have this structure in the government schools. Uh, Before NEP 2020, nobody even talked about having nursery or kindergarten in government schools because we have Anganwadi centers there. We have early childhood care education there. We have government schools with, starting from grade one. We have RT Act, which only talks about uh, grades 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when we talk about FLN, then we should think about foundational stage when it starts from age 3. So age 3 or age 4 or 5 years old children, they are they are in Anganwadi centers because majorly, I think the significant amount of population that go to ICDS centers or government school, because even if you talk about Bihar, it's only 15-20% children who go to play schools or private schools, private play schools. So when we talk about FLN and its implementation, then we should also talk about early childhood care education. We should talk about the children who are coming to the Anganwadi centers. We should talk about their development because we all know that brain develops up to 8 years, and uh, children stay in Anganwadi or ICDS center till 6. So most of the time, children spent in Anganwadi center up to 6 years when the significant amount of brain developed there. So if we really want a better implementation of FLN in India, then I think we should start from uh, strengthening early childhood care education and preschooling. And this is something that nobody talks about because children who are in Anganwadi centers, after 6 years, they will be graduating and they will be going to government school. They will be then enrolled in standard grade 1, then grade 2. So when you look at NAP, it talks about PCP, it talks about preschooling, it talks about foundational stage starts from 3. But when we talk about its implementation, then only the education department comes in the picture. Nobody talks about ICDS. Nobody talks about Anganwadi. So and because I have been attending many meetings, and people, they believe that only education department can implement FLN properly everywhere, whether it's early childhood care education, whether it's preschool. The only department can do everything is education department. Whereas the education department has no experience of dealing with the children below 6. They don't have any preparation or early childhood care education. And if you look at Anganwadi or ICDS, they have been in this early childhood care education for the last many years. And we all know that we have ECC policy implemented in 2013. And after that, ICDS also has prepared a lot of things on early childhood care education. I understand they have limited resources, they have limited workforce, but at the same time, I also feel that the whole ICDS structure has been neglected, and uh, I think it's all about the competency or qualification. People judge that the workforce in ICDS or the Anganwadi, They are not capable of doing anything on early childhood care education or any education related activities. But the truth is, they have potential. They can do and they have been doing this. After 2013, because I have been involved very closely, all the workforce, the frontline workers, we call them workers, ICDS workers or Anganwadi workers, they have been trying so hard. They have been they have been working on early childhood care education. There has been a curriculum developed by the ICDS in all the states according to the ACC policy guidelines. But I think it always perturbs me that they have been underestimated in all the meetings everywhere. I mean, all at all levels. People don't consider Anganwadi workforce or frontline workers are potential to, do uh, their job on early childhood care education. This reminds me that one state, Telangana, they have named the Anganwadi workers as Anganwadi teachers. We need to recognize their potential. We need to recognize their capability. We need to recognize their energy. They have potential. They are competent. We need to recognize them. Otherwise, people, what they have been thinking of doing they want to take it away from the Anganwadi centers and incorporate it in education department in this whole system. I don't know how it possible when you have separate food structure of Anganwadi, where all children go every day, and you have separate department, you have separate structure of schools where all the children go to schools. So we all have to think about involving and engaging Anganwadi, the whole ICDS system in a positive manner. When we talk about implementation of FLN, then it also requires a lot of coordination and convergence in between both the departments. ICDS comes under Social Welfare Department or Ministry of Child and Welfare Department. Education Department is a separate department. Until and unless they have very strong convergence and coordination, they cannot do anything. NAP has been implemented. Now we have FLN coming into force. Now we are planning to implement it. Now we are having meeting at every level. We are making decisions. We are making plans. We are doing all the things. What what is the role of ICDS? Where 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 the ICDS stands in all whole FLN scenario? Nobody talks about this. When you start considering ICDS is one of the pillars of FLN, you cannot achieve anything in FLN. You can have all the things. You can have contents for grade 1 to 3. You can have everything in place in the schools. But what about those children who are in Anganwadi? Do you want them to come to the school at the age of 3? Do you want to have separate Anganwadi or play school or nursery or kindergarten in your government school? Is it possible anywhere in India? And if we talk about and they talk about this school complex where they can co-locate Anganwadi centers and schools. How far is it possible? Do they have space? Do they have all arrangements? Do they have all system in place? I think they need to start talking to each other. I mean, ICDS is in different world and the education department is in different world. I'm saying it on based on my experience throughout my whole journey, and I know because I am closely working with both the departments. I have been doing this for the last many years. So, and I personally, I have tried at all levels, and I see the gaps. I see the challenges when ICDS officials are hardly invited in any education department meeting regarding FLN. When ICDS has developed early childhood care education, even nobody, even education department didn't bother to see that. Now the SCRT has started developing the same thing we have already. So this is the duplicacy of content what we have already. Instead of reviewing it, instead of looking at all the curriculums that we have, they have started working on different whole new curriculum. I don't see any point. I don't see any logic doing this. It just has a lack of coordination and lack of communication and lack of convergence. When we have FLN, we have ICDS, and we have education system. And believe me, I have been talking to many organizations, many people who have been involved in this, and they have the only concern that education department is the only department which can implement it, whether it's ECC, whether it's school education. ICDS doesn't have uh, the capacity. So I think this is something we need to focus on. I think when we talk about better implementation, we should start talking to the ICDS. We should start recognizing their efforts. We should start recognize them as a cadre which can really help in implementing FLN. You cannot ignore the fact that they have a big number of workers, frontline workers. They have supervisors. They have all everything in place, and it's not their job only job that they provide food, uh, ration, and everything. This is the part of Anganwadi Center. If you look at the services of whole ICDS system, preschool is the most important one of the services of ICDS. You cannot ignore that fact. So, and I think this is very important that they have convergence, they have coordination, they have joint uh, plan, they have joint initiative. Otherwise, I don't think they are going to achieve anything without uh, that part. You can have everything in your schools, but FLN is not only about grade 1 to 3. FLN is also about the children below 6 years. And when you don't have strong ECC, strong uh, early learnings, early years learnings, early childhood education, you cannot have strong foundation in standard 1, 2, 3. So it's very important that you have system, you have departments. So look at the gaps. Start from the central department. They have ministries. They have the two separate ministries, MHRD and MWCD. And when you come down to the state, they have again two different departments. When you look at the budget, all the FLN related budget goes to education department. ICDS has got nothing in terms of budget. So I mean, if we really want to have a strong FLN implementation plan or execution, we need to have strong convergence, strong coordination between both the departments. You cannot have all the things alone. You cannot have Anganwadi centers running in isolation. You cannot have schools running in isolation in different world. You need to have convergence right from the Anganwadi and schools. You look at teachers and Anganwadi workers interaction. There's no interaction at all. So because the problem is teachers are school teachers, Anganwadi workers are Anganwadi workers. They have teachers have reputation because they are teachers, they are government teachers, and Anganwadi workers they are workers. They just they are there to take care of children. That's it. They cannot teach what they believe. But I think we really need to think about their role. You cannot ignore them. You cannot, ignore the fact that they have a very strong role to play. If we really talk about strong FLN, because when you talk about foundation, it really starts from the beginning, and it's not only three. I would say it starts from the zero. So I think it's not NAP. I think it's all implementation plan issues. NAP is very clear about everything. But when it comes to role allocation and the responsibilities, I think we need to be clear, and we need to be clear for every department and for each and every stakeholders. Sorry, I think it's time.
No, no, you're there, sir. Hello?
Sorry. Yes.
Yes, yes, sir, you're on the show.
Yeah. So should I continue, or because I
Yeah,
don't know the time?
of course you can continue. Please continue.
Okay. Hope I don't bore anyone. Yeah. So uh, now coming back to the practical solution we talk about. I think we need to start involving and engaging ICTS equally at the meeting, at the training, and everywhere. If you have ECC curriculum, you need to share that, and you need to look at this curriculum. When you have SCRT should get involved in all this review curriculum process. They can give their inputs. They can have a lot of edits and everything. But we have curriculum, and then we should start working on this. Another thing, I think we need to prepare the whole cadre of ICDS and teachers equally, because when you talk to the teachers about brain development, they hardly know. They always think that when the children start coming to school, then they will learn everything, and that's it. They believe that ICDS centers, they are kitchen centers. That the children just go to the centers just because for food and meat. That's not true. So I think we also need to prepare the teachers that this brain development happens in the Anganwadi centers, which is nearby your school and is close by your school, and you know the Anganwadi centers are running around your schools, in your village, in your panchayat. You also need to understand that this age group children need special treatment, special attention. When they go to school, they are not prepared for textbook. NAP talks about, FLN talks about play-based learning even in class standard one. But even after that, you have school teachers trained for play-based learning, they will not do because they are, they have been doing the same job of, completing syllabus right from standard one. And this is a huge task for them. And this is the only task for them. They don't bother whether children are learning or not. They are comfortable in the classroom. They are comfortable with the textbooks. Whether they are comfortable in doing activities with the teacher, they just need to finish the syllabus. Whether it is standard one, whether it is standard two, because I have seen and I have seen personally that a lot of modules developed by SERT, play-based learning, all activities were there, and most of the teachers who were nominated for Student 1, 2, they were trained and they were told that you would have to conduct all the play-based learning in your classroom, just away from textbook and don't bother about textbook. But finally what happened in the classroom? They were doing the same thing. Okay, now uh, open the textbook. Now we have syllabus. Now we have everything, and they have pressure of completing all the syllabus. Of even a standard one.
So please
They
adjust.
were worried about. Sorry.
So, yeah, better.
So I mean, teachers need to realize that standard one and two is not about completing textbook. Is not about completing syllabus. It is all about fun-based, play-based learning activities. You need to make children feel comfortable in your classroom, and it's not possible without the support of the ICDS workers. The teachers should go to the Anganwadi center. They should learn how to treat the children who are coming to Anganwadi centers in such a small age. They are not afraid of Anganwadi workers. They are not afraid of Anganwadi centers. They are not afraid of sitting in that centers for 4 hours. But when the same children, when they go to school, they get scared. They get scared of classroom. They get scared of teachers. They get scared of teachers' attitude. And you cannot have FLN with all in this situation. You need to change the whole situation, the transition, the convergence, the coordination. Anganwadi workers should also understand that they are going to the classroom and teachers, and they should understand that how teachers should behave with the children, how teachers should treat with all the children in the classroom. So I think the gap or the whatever communication gap at the Anganwadi centers and school, I think we really need to work on that. This is very important part of the FLN implementation. Once it's they are on the same page, once they start thinking alike, once they realize that their job is to uh,
Please.
help each other, I think the the problem at the grassroots level, I think that will be reduced when they start talking to each other, they start interacting with each other, and they start meeting each other, and they start taking trainings, participating in joint meetings. I think that the uh, the important part of that whole FLN system will get strengthened. And then, of course, the coordination in the top level, at block level, at district level, then state level. State level, I have seen some of the coordination it's there, but when you going down to the block level, at the district level, there's no coordination at all, no communication at all in both the departments. They don't go to each other meetings. They don't know the education department at district level doesn't know how many Anganwadi centers in the district. ICDS district officials don't know how many schools they have in their district. So at every level, I think this is the important part where everyone should work on. Once it's done, I think the major part of the implementation, I think that will be over, and I think then we will have pretty smooth implementation at grassroots level, at ground. Yeah,
Yeah. So,
that's it.
yeah, their camera is better. Thank you so much, sir, for your input. I mean, you have really covered everything from the role of stakeholders in implementation of policies, and you've also talked about the role of each stakeholder in achieving FLN, how the stakeholders are dependent on each other and do not work independently. Also, you made few suggestions and solutions where they are needed in the hour of a better policy implementation. Thank you so much for your views on everything. So, just one thing that comes to my mind is that how can we reverse the loss of education efforts that has happened because of the pandemic, or how education can emerge stronger than before COVID-19?
See, pandemic it has affected everything, school learnings, everything. But when you look at school education pre-COVID and post-COVID, I frankly speaking, I don't see any difference, much difference in learnings because uh, even in my field experience, I have seen that those children who were doing well before COVID still doing well. Those children who were not doing well before COVID still not doing well after COVID. So I think it has affected to some extent, but I would say yeah, definitely we are not prepared of that pandemic. It has affected mentally, of course,
Yeah.
but but in terms of learnings, I think uh, uh, I don't think it make much difference.
Okay.
So I think what we needed to do before COVID, I think we still need to do after COVID. So
Yeah.
it's most, but yeah, psychologically, uh, children have been affected. Everyone has been affected. So that's a different thing. But when we talk about the skills learnings, I think it's almost the same thing.
How important is it to consider the smart policy design while implementing any policy?
See, I would say smart policy when you call it a smart policy, then it has to be implemented very smartly. You have a smart policy and you don't have a smart implementation plan, then it doesn't mean that it's a smart policy. So you need to consider all the stakeholders in that policy, and you at the same time you also think that what will work and what will not work in that policy and the implementation. So I believe
Yeah.
this policy should have a smart implementation plan. That's the only I believe that's the only part of smart policy.
Okay, sure. Great, great. So last thing is, we'd like to know about your School 2030, the 10-year-old program.
So this is a global program being implemented in 10 countries, mostly African countries and some Asian countries. In India, we are implementing it in Bihar. Uh, so schools 2030 is longitudinal study for 10 years, and we are trying to uh, understand that in the schools, in the government setup, it's not only schools. It has youth space like uh, uh, diets and all. It has preschools like Anganwadi centers. It has senior secondary schools. It has elementary schools. So we are trying to understand in each country in government setup that what works and what doesn't work for you know uh, learning outcomes.
Yeah.
Even in Anganwadi centers, even in schools, even in youth spaces. So this we have started in 2020, and we are in the process of implementing it in 100 spaces, including schools, Anganwadi, and youth spaces. And we are working on it, and uh, we are expecting some good results.
Yeah. Great, sir. Great. It was so wonderful to hear your views about everything and how it is so commendable that how your organization is bringing together human, financial, and technical resources and addressing the challenges which are being faced by the poorest and most marginalized communities in the world, and how you are all committed to collaboration with the government and the civil society partners to equip children and young adults with knowledge, with skills, with attitudes and values. So, huge congratulations to you for your great work, for your views, and thank you
Thank
so much. It's such an honor to have you on the show. This is Anupma Mahajan, your host, signing off. Thank you, sir. Thank you. It was such a pleasure.
you.